Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. Championship Week video notebook day number five,
Five,
round five.
yes.
Wow,
And
five.
I'll say this, a lot of the times people don't get into the opening rounds, especially of the under the radar conferences, and they look at championship week as something that starts off at the size of a pebble and then snowballs until it's the size of an avalanche. If you missed tonight, I'm sorry, but we are here to recap everything that
Well,
happened tonight.
everything, and we start with news and notes. I guess, Dave, we can do a quick little mini Hoops HD report, news and notes, because we are done with Hoops HD reports. So
Yes.
just a few news and notes here in the non-conference tournament games. Baylor, first of all, amazing overtime win at West Virginia. It was early evening game.
Yeah, real
One of the
exciting.
great games. Yeah.
It was a well played game. Both teams played great. It seesawed back and forth. Actually, it didn't. West Virginia had the lead for most of it. Baylor really just clawed back, forced overtime, and then got it done in overtime. A really, really impressive win. And I don't know if you'd call that a bounce back win because there's certainly no shame in losing to Kansas. But
I think it was a bounce back win and a much needed
yeah,
win with Baylor not having looked good in their first two games coming out of their pause. Didn't
yeah.
look good most of this game compared to where they'd been, but getting that huge win at a West Virginia team that could have been on the one line with this win, a great win for Baylor.
Yeah. And it was one of two games between teams that were fighting for spot, either solidly on the one line or fighting for spots on them. Although it was not so good of a game.
Yeah, Illinois absolutely went and absolutely crushed Michigan. Michigan's only their second loss of the year, and it was not a Michigan team I'd seen played all season. The one that played tonight, they had nothing.
No, and I don't. And they've been coming off a really successful stretch. The win at Ohio State, and I don't know if they were just a little bit hungover from all that, but God, they just got
And now they got to play Sparty back-to-back games to end the
yeah.
regular season. So
And
that's not the way you want
Sparty,
to start this stretch either.
oh, Sparty right on the bubble, getting a much needed win tonight because
They beat
if
Indiana,
assuming Michigan gets back to form, they might not win either one of those.
right? And
Uh,
Sparty really needs to hit a huge win over Indiana, and that's probably it for Indiana's at-large hopes at this point.
I would think so. Yeah.
Barring win out to the Big Ten title game or something
Right. So
crazy like
they're
that.
still going to stay on the survival board because if they win out to the championship game, they will be in. But based on what their ceiling appears to be and what their range of play appears to be, they are just not going to beat anybody else.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
In addition, let's see here. A couple teams suffering some bad losses. Xavier, right on the bubble, might be probably on the bad side of it now. Bad
I,
loss
I,
to Georgetown.
I would think so. And this is coming off one of their more impressive wins of the season. You know, easily their most impressive win of conference play, and probably their most impressive win since they beat Oklahoma very early on. Xavier went into Georgetown tonight and looked like Georgetown tonight.
uh, and Boise State played at home and looked like Fresno State
Yes, they
because they
did.
lost at home to Fresno State and a Boise State team that we thought, yeah, they lost a couple in a row, but they were to San Diego State. This was not what you need to do after those losses.
No, just a real like damaging loss. That's going to leave a dent that is not. I mean, that's not going to rub out.
Uh,
That is a permanent scratch.
a couple
Oh
games.
man, I don't know if it knocks them all the way outside the bubble, but it certainly knocks them from safely in to not safely in.
Their first four in first, they're either first
Yeah,
four or first four out right now. That's where I
yeah.
think Boise is. I haven't done a bracket since these games. Wisconsin Purdue is going on as we record this, as is Kentucky Ole Miss. Georgia Tech Duke went overtime, huge win for Georgia Tech, and that might be the almost close to the end for Duke at this point. They really needed this game and could not get it.
Yeah, and it looked like they were way out. It looked like they were climbing up the seed list and getting back into the conversation. I suppose they're still in the conversation, but needed to beat Georgia. I mean, when you're on the bubble or outside the bubble, you need to beat other teams that are on the bubble, and they didn't do it. A nice win for Georgia Tech. How about Josh Pastner? This is a team that started off with losses to Georgia State and Mercer in their first two games, and is certainly looking better now than they were at the beginning of the year. It's hard to improve throughout the year when you're constantly battling COVID, but they've done it one of the better coaching jobs of his career, I'd venture to say this year.
Yeah. No, that's good. One of the quick, kind of very under the radar note here. Well, not very, but pretty under the radar note. Toledo had a big 12-point lead late in their game. As they finish up the regular season, they're going to be the one seed in the MAC tournament, no matter what. But they completely fell apart and lost to a Central Michigan team that's not even going to be in the MAC tournament.
Yeah,
So.
and that is important in the sense that if they do win the MAC tournament, of course, like this will sort of fade into the background if they do. But you move down the seed list, you don't get as winnable of a game, or as it's harder and harder. The further you go down, the difference between a 13 and 14 can be pretty big.
Yeah, and so Toledo, not the way they want to be playing heading into their final regular season finale and then into the MAC tournament next week. So, uh, and we'll see about the MAC also. Ohio U just which was a team I really thought could win the MAC tournament, just got
Yeah,
shut
me
down
too.
because of COVID. Hopefully they can be back up again by next Thursday, but we'll
Yeah.
cross our fingers on
And
that.
God, you hate to see that. And when we say shutdown for COVID, we need to clarify. I think everybody knows this. It's COVID protocol. We don't know that there were any positive tests. We don't know who it was. Sometimes it's something as simple as just contact tracing. Someone was out of the bubble. Someone was in class with someone that had it. You don't know what it is, but you just hate to see that happen.
Right. So hopefully they can get back and be able to play again by next week.
Yeah.
Let's go pull up the screen share here. And we almost forgot to mention this. The Front Range, David. Did it show up on the
Yes,
screen there?
it did. Yeah.
We want to congratulate Colorado State as the Front Range regular season champions after they blew out Air Force in the second half late last night to capture the perfect record with an asterisk by it, though. I would note there is a chance they could match up with Wyoming or Air Force again during the Mountain West tournament. I think that,
Yeah.
a loss there could give Colorado the title still.
Yeah, as long as they hold on to that, Colorado State gets the auto bid. But if they lose one of those games, I think Colorado gets it.
Right. If they play Wyoming or Air Force, now always a chance that one or more of these teams could also add another game in the last week and a
Yeah,
half.
right.
So who knows? Maybe on Selection Sunday we'll suddenly hear that Denver is playing against Northern Colorado or something. You never know.
Right. You never know. So, we want the Front Range back in full.
Let's go straight to conference tournament play that happened today, and it was the game. Not only the day of championship week so far, maybe the best in terms of how good every single game was. This may be the best day in all of championship week for all 2 weeks, with what we saw happen in all 4 games that were played tonight in the Horizon League here. One
Yeah.
buzzer beater in regulation, one triple overtime, 2 regular overtime games. David, which game do you want to start with?
I don't. Well, let's put this. Let's look at this holistically first and put this into context. You and I have been doing this a long time. We've actually been doing this since before Hoops HD, and some of the things step out. I think it was '06 when in the Atlantic 10 quarters, the weaker seeded team won every game. We ended
Yeah.
up with like a 5. There was certainly, I think, was it 2007 or 2008, the SEC tournament, how crazy that was. I am not kidding. This is on the list for the most remarkable thing.
I'd throw there that Great West tournament where every game was 3 points or less.
Yes, that is another one, and that one has been forgotten in history, unfortunately, because there was no automatic bid attached. But that was the most remarkable tournament ever. Okay, this quite doesn't rate up.
This won't get there because
high,
there were blowouts in the first round. So
yeah. But this as a day, as 4 quarterfinals were going on at the same time.
With them going on simultaneously too, kind of added to it as opposed to. I normally like it when you have the 4 quarterfinals in a row because you can. But this was kind of neat, just have them all 4 at the same time and
right. And I don't think this has ever happened, Chad. Where 3 quarterfinals, like we saw 5 overtimes in the quarterfinals today, and we saw another last second shot. I don't think that's happened.
I'll tell you what. Let's start with the game that did not go into overtime. And
that was the boring one.
Yeah. That was the 4-5 game. Northern Kentucky, Detroit Mercy was at NKU in a game that just absolutely went back and forth. It was a close game the entire way. It was a great game. David Baum gets the I think got three chances for the tip in, and the very last one, which came with about zero point 0.3 seconds left and left his fingertips, goes through to give NKU the 1 point lead. What win? What a finish and what a game!
Yeah, it really was. I don't want to accuse Detroit of being pedestrian, but it didn't seem like they were going strong for the rebound or to contest it. And it was a 1 point margin. I don't know if they were worried about fouling and sending somebody to the line, but yeah, it seesawed back and forth. And basically, it wasn't so much a second chance point as it was a fourth chance point.
Yeah,
you know,
it was absolutely amazing though. But the last second buzzer beater. But we did that game did not go overtime. Um, I guess next, David, let's talk about the game right below it, the Oakland Youngstown State game, because of the other three games, it went overtime, but had to probably be the most boring game of the day, and it was a damn
yeah,
exciting game.
it
Most
was.
nights it would be the best game of the night. It was probably the most boring because it
Yeah,
was,
and
go ahead.
well, this was the one I was most excited about coming into the night, and I was actually kind of glad that this one was a little bit staggered because it's like, well, we're going to have a lot of chalk and probably a lot of unexciting games similar to what we had in the Big South last night. So at least the good game is going to be the one that we can sort of watch uninterrupted. I don't want to say this because I don't want to sound professional. I missed the end of this game.
No, it was, I had to have three screens going with these games.
Yeah,
I think, I don't know that ESPN Plus lets you have more than three games on at a time, but
right.
so they were my screens were maxed out on them.
Yeah,
And there was, you know, Youngstown State getting a few stops late and forcing the overtime. Oakland looked pretty good in OT.
yeah,
They got the lead, they held it. So huge win for Greg Campy's team. They're a team with a losing overall record, a worse record in both conference and overall than a lot of teams that were seeded worse than them in this tournament because of the way they
yeah.
did the seeding. But Oakland advances on and is heading to Indianapolis for the semifinals as well.
Yeah, and
Uh, I think, David, I'd like to go now to amazingly, I'm going to call the triple overtime game the second most interesting game that we had tonight. And I don't think I would ever call a triple overtime game the second most interesting game of the night. But that's what happened with the Cleveland State Fort Wayne game, I think.
yeah, it was kind of a pedestrian first half. I mean, Fort Wayne,
Pedestrian. It was 28-27 at halftime. Okay.
yeah,
And these
and
teams made it triple digits.
yeah, and it was, it wasn't anything that really got your juices going. And even though it was 28-27, you felt like you were sort of waiting for Cleveland State to blow it open. Or I was. I think you were actually on Fort Wayne's bandwagon a little
I
bit.
really liked Fort Wayne's chances in this game, and I
Yeah,
think they
well,
proved me right.
you were right about that, but like the second half, the energy picked up. We saw, I can't remember, was it at the end of regulation when we saw back to back banked in
You saw
threes?
bank shots. You saw Eichelberger
Yeah,
for Cleveland State hit a three, pretty much at
just
the
his
buzzer at the
second
end
of
of
the
at the
year.
end of the second overtime to send to the third.
Yeah,
Torrey Patton had an amazing game for Cleveland State. Planutis and Godfrey were just absolutely amazing for Fort Wayne. Godfrey never came out of the game. I think he played all 300 minutes of this thing.
yeah,
And the game came down to the very last play, down by 3 points. Here was Fort Wayne trying to inbound the ball,
yeah.
and
Just
Cleveland State found a 7-footer at the end of their bench that they put in to guard the inbound pass, and and made him throw it away. It was a
yeah,
real good coaching move, I thought, actually.
yeah, yeah. It kind of was. So Cleveland State, the regular season first place team, holding on barely for dear life to get the win. And it just kept seesawing back and forth.
Uh,
Just when you thought, and that was the thing, it was. It was a triple overtime game with multiple last second shots and multiple lead changes in the final minute of regulation in each of the three overtimes. It was just heart stopping.
Well, luckily, David, we had these three great games, and if anybody was watching the Wright State Milwaukee game, the other game that we haven't gone to yet, it was a boring game. It was a blowout. It was an 18-point Wright State lead at halftime. It was a 24-point Wright State lead with a little over
Yeah.
6 minutes left to play in the game. It was time to turn the game off, except I think Wright State decided to turn it off as well at that point.
Yeah, and again, because of the other games, I made the comment. I don't remember if I said this on Twitter or to somebody else that Wright State's game was the only one that was boring in the other three. So the lead went out to 24.
It went out to 24 with a little over 6 minutes left to play. That's how monster of a
Yeah.
comeback. And it was, if you watch I turned it on it when it got down to about 12, I turned the game
Yeah,
back on.
that's where I kind of came back in, and when it
And
was
if you
down to
just
that
watch it,
10.
it was Wright State couldn't do anything right. Milwaukee, every shot they put up was going through the net, hitting threes, and and then you see something finally Wright State would get one basket and they'd pull out to six or something with about 30 seconds left. You thought it was over,
Yeah,
but it's still Milwaukee would come down. There's another three, and there's DeAndre Goldstein with pretty almost at the buzzer. I think it was one half a second left at the end of regulation, nailing yet another three to tie the game and send it into overtime. And 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 Milwaukee wasn't done yet.
yeah. It reminds me of that opening round game between Iona and BYU, where Iona had a 25-point lead and seemingly was just Wright State was who we thought the best team in the conference was, and they were seemingly having their way with a team that just had no chance of ever stepping up on
Well,
them. But
I'll tell you what Milwaukee has. They are almost one of the bottom seeds in the Horizon League tournament, and their name is Milwaukee, and they've done it before, and here they are doing it again. Remember when they were a
yeah,
10 seed and made made it to the
yeah,
finals of the Horizon League? So,
yeah,
uh,
and actually really stepped up. I believe it was Northern Kentucky that year
yeah,
in that championship game.
th-
Yeah, they didn't win it, and I mean, it didn't really come down to
that was the year that there were only 10 teams in the Horizon. So Milwaukee came out at
yeah,
dead last to make the Horizon League finals. We've seen very low seeds make the finals a couple times in the Horizon League. I did not think this was going to be one of the years, but there we go. Milwaukee
yeah,
gets the overtime win. They nothing here again until Monday night, but they're going to Indianapolis because they reseed. Milwaukee will be playing Cleveland State and Oakland against NKU. Uh,
yeah, and Wright State had an incredible year, and I think that they felt like that they had a really high ceiling. Every game that they lost this season in conference, anyway, was followed up by a big win right after that, normally against the team that had just beaten them. Mentally, where are they at? Like, what
well,
do you learn from this going into the offseason?
I mean, there is if the CBI is played, I don't know if it will be played or not, but if it is played, I would hope that the CBI takes a look at Wright State as a team
Yeah,
to invite, but they tend not to invite as much on merit as who has the
yeah,
right contracts with the Gazelle Group. So I don't know
yeah.
if they have a contract with the Gazelle Group
Uh,
either.
and I don't know that either. I know that. Well, I don't know that either. But like this was sort of like a year for Wright State to sort of continue to build its brand to get to the NCAA tournament, and they were good enough. Wright State's been there before, but I didn't think they ever had the pieces to maybe win a game if they got the right matchup. And it's going to be like, depending on who returns next year, it might be a while before Wright State is this good again. This one hurts, Chad. I think this one hurts them
Yeah,
kind
I mean that this is the way that Loudon Love's career might end is just
yeah.
is a shame. Although like everybody could be back next year, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
everybody could, but yeah.
Uh, but again, we got those. Real quick, David, who do you think wins it now that Wright State is going? Is it Cleveland State's or could we be talking? Because I'm kind of leaning NKU at the moment.
I am too. Um, we're going to Indianapolis, where none of these teams are actually from, but there's limited fans anyway.
Oakland, I guess, would be the
I'm kind of
closest
like,
team.
yeah, Northern Kentucky. Everybody, I don't know. Like, I know that this is an extreme recency bias. I don't know if they win the whole thing, but Cleveland State better watch out. They're probably happy that they, are playing, that they ended up playing Milwaukee, one of the weaker teams. But
But
this is a
Milwaukee, how?
Milwaukee team that's coming in with a huge force of momentum here.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to our colleague Joby Fortson. He said he liked this Milwaukee team.
He did.
I
He
didn't, I
did.
wasn't there with him, but now I am.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at what's coming up tomorrow. David, I've been complaining actually a lot here that the first day of championship week we only had 4 games. The second day we had
Yeah.
no games. It didn't even count as a day. Then we had 5 games. Then we had 2 games, and then we had 4 games.
So you want to know
On
well, the
Monday. Then
four
we had
games
four
we had
games.
today were pretty good. You
And then
got
we had 4 games.
to.
So that was pretty good, but we're still not getting a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, we want
But
20 games. What you
David,
want is what I want. Is all of us on the call together while the games are going on, and everybody's watching different games.
well,
Yeah,
David, here we go. Tomorrow we get to pick it up. We have more than 4 games. We have 5 games.
Oh boy.
Um, but the good news is only been talking about 3 conferences so far: the Horizon, the Big South, and the American East. We get 3 new conferences that we have not discussed yet. We discussed
Yeah.
for the first time, kicking things off tomorrow. Let's start with the biggest of them all, the Atlantic 10. The biggest in terms of the first week of championship week. Here is the Atlantic 10 bracket. It starts tomorrow with the little early morning pair of games here. LaSalle St. Joe's at 11 a.m., GW and Fordham at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Uh, those games will be played at the Siegel Center, VCU's home court, before we
Yeah.
move on to the second round and quarterfinals, and we'll have a champion. Well, sorry, we'll be down to a championship matchup by Saturday, and then we come back for Sunday the 14th, the following week, for the championship game. Uh, but I guess let's start with tomorrow's games. Do you see anything worth paying attention to
Well, yeah, actually,
in the two of them?
Saint Joseph's won 3 in a row. Back to, like, is it Ryan Daly
Yeah.
is back? They have not lost with him. They are much better with him than they are without him. Um, and I know that, like, coming out of the opening round and winning the tournament is a long shot. I don't know if I think that they can do that, but because of the break at the end of the semis, you look at how the bracket is laid out here. I think they can beat LaSalle, and I think they can beat UMass, and that's a lot of momentum going into St. Louis. So I kind of like the way Joe's is playing right now, even though they're the 13th seed.
Well,
And the other
it
thing,
is a Big Five rivalry game though against LaSalle.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
good catch. Yeah, yeah, a Big Five rivalry game. And when you look at the GW Fordham game, whenever I see these opening round games, I have to ask myself this question: why the hell is Fordham in this conference?
Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't expect much from that late game, but I mean, listen, if I think St. Joe's. I think you're right. I think it's gonna be St. Joe's and GW tomorrow. But I guess since this is the first time we've looked at the whole A10 field, it just came out last night. Uh, Real interesting field here, I think, with the top 4 seeds there: the Bonnies, St. Louis, and VCU, all sitting there on the bubble.
Yeah,
Davidson you can make an argument that Davidson might be on the bubble as well. I think it's a weak argument. There's
yeah,
a very weak argument that Richmond might still be on the bubble, but I think their loss to St. Joe's and the other last night really kind of knocked them off of it. But
right.
uh, who ends up making this final here?
It's an interesting question in one sense. Well, in a not just one sense, in a big sense, it's been a really disappointing year for the A10. You and I like this league. It's a basketball centric league. In most years outside of the Big East, it's probably the biggest or the best basketball centric league. I mean, when you look at some of the clubs, but this year, no one in on the first ballot. That's not a normal thing for this conference. It's been kind of a down year in a year we thought it would be an up year. And it is kind of hard to say. I like the Bonnies, but they're hard to evaluate, one. And B, they didn't exactly look good their last time out. Now, maybe that sharpens them
That
up.
was the home game to Dayton. They lost
Yeah,
yesterday again, Monday night. Yep.
right. So maybe, maybe that sharpens them up a little bit, but still kind of a disappointing showing there. And Richmond and Duquesne, Richmond, while also very disappointing in their last game, isn't somebody that you can just overlook. It
Well,
wouldn't shock
well,
me at all.
well,
If
David. I guess the question is who's going to win the whole thing, though.
I don't know.
Okay. All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make a call in this game because I'm in this
Yeah.
third, and I'm making this call not really because I think it's a team that's going to win it, but because I think that this would be the most apropos thing to happen to the Atlantic 10. The entire tournament is being played in Richmond, except for the championship game, which is played in Dayton. For that reason, I'm calling a A10 final of Richmond versus VCU because it would make zero sense to send those teams to Dayton to play, which would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, I love that.
So that's what I'm
Uh,
calling. I'll call VCU to win it. Really, I think St. Louis is a team to watch out for.
do you really? I haven't. I was big on them before the season started, and then I saw them play a couple times, and then I saw them play a couple more times.
They're
I
the one
just,
team that looked good yesterday. So hey,
yeah,
but besides the two A10 games, we were supposed to have two. One more piece of breaking news here: the Patriot League kicks off tomorrow, but with only a single game. Holy Cross, a COVID shutdown announced today. As a result, their season is over, and Loyola, who they're supposed to be playing in their first round game tomorrow, will just advance and play Navy on Saturday.
yeah.
So we only have the 7-10 game, and it's BU Lehigh at BU at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Let me start. What do you think about this game, first of all, if
Uh,
anything?
Not a
Oh,
whole lot. I mean, I like Boston U to win it. I've kind of been disappointed a little bit in Boston U this year, but I think they get this one, and that brings up a potential final matchup against Colgate, who is
who has played BU
yeah.
300 times already?
If
Yeah.
you love, yeah, if you love the net, yeah,
Uh,
you'll get that. So they get to play BU again.
yeah, and Colgate has only played three teams all season. They have been Army, BU, and Holy Cross. So,
Yeah,
uh, you, Holy Cross is out of this. Army, they could actually play Army the finals if they both teams get there. But in
yeah,
terms of this tournament, it's very hard to gauge because there's so little you really know about any of these teams. I
yeah.
do I do like Navy. I've liked them all season, and
I
Navy's.
have too.
I would love to see an Army Navy semifinal and then a Navy Colgate championship game, and I think Navy wins it all. That's kind of where I'm going with this.
I'm with you on that. You're right. It's hard to really measure because these teams haven't played anybody. Like a lot of them didn't play out of conference games, although Army and Navy did. And then in conference, they only played one or two other teams all year long. But what I've seen of Navy, I like, and I like them more than what I've seen of anybody else.
I'll tell you
I
this,
think Navy wins the tournament.
if I was going to go for a dark horse to make a run, watch out for Bucknell down there coming out of the sixth seed. I mean, they would
Mm.
have to win multiple road games, so it's not easy. But we saw wasn't it, we saw Holy Cross
Holy Cross won as a nine
what
seed, won four road
won
games. It
four
was
road games a
after
couple of
winning
years back.
three conference games all year, they won four tournament games on the road.
Yep, and that was 2 years ago. The last time we had actually we had a completed Patriot League tournament last year, but the
Yeah.
last time we had uh, an NCAA tournament. One more conference kicking things off tomorrow. Our last two games of the night at uh, the Ohio Valley Conference. Now, let me explain this bracket a little bit here. It is only half the quarterfinals being played tomorrow. It is the one seed Belmont SIU Edwardsville game and the two seed Morehead State SEMO game tomorrow. The other two quarterfinals will be played on Thursday. So let's start with those two games, David. Any chance, especially now that we know that we've heard that Mazinski's going to be back for Belmont, any chance that either Edwardsville or SEMO pulls an upset tomorrow?
Not much of one. I definitely don't think Evansville will. I don't, especially with Belmont
Edwardsville,
back
yeah,
at
yeah.
full strength. Um, Moorhead State's just been sort of white hot all year. They just beat Belmont, although Belmont was not at full strength, and that's a big asterisk. So I don't think it's going to be. I'm not expecting any upsets tomorrow. It's going to look pretty chalky.
Okay, so here's the other question. Does Belmont win this, or could a potential Moorhead EKU winner upset them in the finals? Or do you want to call that Belmont gets knocked off in the semis, which I'm not going to do, but
I I think Belmont wins this, especially if he's completely healthy. This
Mazinski, yeah,
Belmont
Nick
team,
Mazinski.
yeah, of Mazinski. This Belmont team is a tournament caliber team with him. They don't have an at-large caliber profile. They will not get it. They certainly won't get an at-large. But on the court with him, I think that they are a 10, 11-ish seed caliber team. They're probably going to be on the 12 or the 13 line. And while I don't, if anybody in this league is going to make a good showing of themselves and maybe possibly win if everything falls right in the round of 64, it's Belmont. No one else is really even an NIT caliber team, Chad. They're really not.
No, no, I mean, if we had a CIT, we would have multiple bids into it. But we're not
Yeah.
going to have a CIT this year. I'm kind of going, I think we're going to see Belmont over Moorhead in the championship game.
Yeah.
Although Moorhead, did Moorhead and EKU split this year, was there a sweep?
No, it was a split.
It was a split. Okay, I was going to say
Yeah.
it's always tough to beat a team three times in a season, so
Yeah.
it will be. I do think we're going to get. I think we'll get chalk in all four quarterfinals, and
Yeah.
we may have chalk the entire tournament. We may have
Yeah.
no upsets whatsoever. I would not be shocked about that in this OVC
Right.
this
Yeah.
year. Which means that we're going to have, SEMO versus Edwardsville for the final, but no, of
Hmm.
course. Uh,
Yeah.
that's it for tomorrow's games, though. But let's run to our survival board.
Yes, the survival. Oh, are we doing that first, or are we doing the
Yeah, we'll
features
do the
first?
survival board
Okay, we'll do the
first.
survival first.
This is our NCAA tournament survival board. You can find the tab for it right up. If you find the conference tournament tabs, you can see all those tournaments. You can also find the survival board tab up there. This is a special feature we do to help out the NCAA tournament, correct?
Yes.
The
Yeah,
NCAA selection committee, correct,
yeah,
David?
we do this to help out the selection committee. We know they appreciate it. You know, they don't really communicate with us much, but that's, I mean, they really can't. It's the same reason they don't really talk to the media much. It's you know, but we know they appreciate
Okay.
it because yeah,
And there are different ways we designate teams on this page to help them out.
yeah,
Some teams might be in bold and all caps. That is an automatic bid winner. We don't have any of those at all yet, though.
yeah,
There's no.
yeah. No, none of those yet.
Okay. Some teams might be in bold. Those are called locks. So
Locks. Yeah,
those are
even
teams.
if they lose if they lose every remaining game, they're still in.
So if I'm on the committee and I'm wondering whether or not Oklahoma belongs in the tournament, I can go to this page and what do I find out?
You find out that they belong in,
Okay.
and you might not know that otherwise. They might not know that.
Okay. Now, teams that are italics are teams that may or may not be in. So if I'm on the committee and I go to this page and I'm wondering whether or not, let's say, Seton Hall belongs in the NCAA tournament, what does this
Well,
page tell me?
that you need to consider them. Like that's one of the teams that you need to look at for maybe taking.
Okay. And what if I'm on the selection committee and I walk into the room and I say, you know what, guys, I think we should really consider Montana for an at-large bid.
Well, the rest of the committee. Hopefully, that would never happen because Montana is not in italics. But if that were
They
to
would tell me to
happen,
look. We
yeah,
could look at
the
the
other
page.
9 committee members would be like, no, we cannot do that. They're not in italics
Italics.
on the Hoops HD survival board.
And what if I was on the committee and I walked into the room and said, you know what, Wright State lost, but I really like this Wright State team. Well, this was from the day before. Well, let's say the Ivy League team. Let's say I really like Harvard. You know, what would happen then?
Well, what would happen then is I've asked this question to the NCAA, like, what if a committee member tried to put a team in that had been completely removed from the survival board, and they just said, well, we would remove that member from the room.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. But this is where we were actually heading into the day today. We were at 314 teams left. As a result of today's action, plus Holy Cross's shutdown, we're down to 309, David.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it sucks that Holy Cross did not get to play until they lost. Losing your last game, it's always a rough experience to go through. There's only whether you're losing in the Final Four, or you're losing in the opening round of your conference tournament, but it does provide you a little bit of closure. Which I'm sorry that Holy Cross did not get that. They didn't get to play. They
Right.
didn't get to play until somebody beat them.
Right. But there you see the updated Horizon League, for example, down to only 4 teams. But again, all are regular type. So they should not be considered except for whichever one we end up putting in bold and all
Right.
caps as the
Yeah.
automatic bid winner.
Yes.
Uh, we've got a feature we want to go to as well, though. Let's go ahead
Yes.
and see if we can get that back up. Oh, that's the front range standings. Here it is.
Oh, the Hoops
The,
HD hot seat.
Okay, we've decided to do a little bit of a look at some coaches that are on the hot seat and may be in jeopardy of having problems come the offseason unless they turn things around here, correct?
Yeah, unless they turn things around here in March during championship week and in the tournament after that. John Calipari, we went over to him, Tony Bennett, the struggles that Wazoo is having. He's just not demonstrating that when he leaves a place, he leaves it intact.
Right, right. The 10 years after he's gone, it's just not as good as it was when he was there.
Yeah, and you don't want to. It's like, so what? All of that was for naught.
Right. Let's see who else is on the hot seat, though. There's definitely
Yes.
somebody here, and
Roy
Roy
Williams.
Williams.
Yes. Okay.
Well, to David, here we go. People may know Roy Williams became the fastest coach ever to reach 900 wins. He has failed to win a game since he did that.
Yeah, and it's just, again, he's not doing as well as he did when he won his first.
It's like he gave up after he got to number
Yeah,
900.
I think it is. So, like, yeah, he got to 900, but he's not the same coach. It's like, he hasn't been the same coach since he won his 900th game. The data shows that pretty conclusively.
I mean, a 0.000 winning percentage since he won his 900th game is as bad. That's maybe the worst coach. He does. He has the worst record of any coach that after their 900th win in the history of NCAA basketball.
Right. He's won a couple of national championships at North Carolina, But I mean,
How
they
long
have
ago was
not.
that?
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
not maintained that level. They have digressed. There have been years where they've not made the Final Four, not made the Sweet 16, and then last year and not making the tournament. Of course, no one else did either, but still. And
I did not hear anyone on TV announcing North Carolina on Selection Sunday last year. That's all I got to say.
yeah. And when you look at Kansas, where he came from, look how good Kansas is. It's like, well, they didn't even need Roy Williams. Maybe it didn't even have anything to do with him. So you got to look at that too. This is a coach
By
that
by get
is,
by getting rid of him 10 years later, they got a lot better.
yeah. And they were pretty good when he was there, but I mean, they've been. They've been one of the best programs in the country ever since he left.
Yeah,
And if you're looking at that, how do you not conclude that Roy Williams is on the hot seat?
definitely on the hot seat. He's added to the list.
Hot seat, yes.
On that note, though, let's go to any other final thoughts you might have on anything that's going on here in college basketball, David. Because we've got another small day again tomorrow. After that, when we get to Thursday, things will really start to pick up finally. But
Yeah.
but any other thoughts?
A really fun day. I hope that we're able to get through the conference tournaments and the NCAA tournaments without any disruptions. I know that there's probably going to be some, but I hope it doesn't. It isn't too disruptive. It's been a very disruptive season. While it's been far better than not having college basketball at all, and I need to keep telling myself that it hasn't been the normal college basketball season, but again, we've gotten through it. The sacrifices that the coaches, the staff, and certainly the players have had to make just to get onto the court with the contact tracing, sort of living under not being able to leave your room even when you're at home. It's been remarkable. I just want to get through this. I hope it's a fun experience for the fans, for the players, and I hope it's the last one we ever have that's ever like this.
Yeah, it would be so nice to get back to well, I mean, we celebrated the last couple of nights the fact that the Missouri Valley Conference got
Yeah.
all of its regular season games in. Uh, Before this, I every conference always got all of its regular season games, and that was expected.
Yeah, it was.
I
So
mean, every now and then you might have had one conference that lost one game to a snow or something that didn't find a way to make it up, but it was very very rare. This was absolutely. I don't want to see this ever again. You're right.
I don't either.
I want to hopefully no more significant shutdowns because of any outbreaks between now and between now and when we get Selection Sunday, and then once the teams get to Indianapolis, hopefully everybody stays safe, stays healthy. We get through this and we crown a champion, and things will feel a little bit more like normal.
Yeah.
Uh, but on that note, on behalf of David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow night with another Championship Week video notebook, and check out
And a
Thursday night
bracket
as well.
rundown.
We're doing
Bracket run.
that tomorrow's
Oh
only
wait, that's
Wednesday.
Thursday. I don't even know what day it is.
Thursday, we'll be doing a bracket rundown and a video notebook, and every night we'll be doing a video notebook. But thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow night.